Today we are going to begin learning the laws of Taravot. Hilchot Taravot starts in Siman Chet. Now Taravot is the laws dealing with mixtures of kosher and non-kosher foods. Siman Chet, Sif Aleph, which we're going to do today, discusses how to determine if such a mixture is kosher or not. Now we're probably familiar with the concept of Bitul b'shishim. That means nullification in 60. If you have 60 times the non-kosher food in the kosher food, then the non-kosher food is considered as though it's not there, and the whole kosher food and the whole mixture is kosher. This is based in a Gemara in Hullin, Daf Tzadi Zayin, Amud Aleph, and it begins with a statement of Rava. Rava says, "Mireish have kakasha li hadetanya kedera shebisha ba basar lo yivashel ba chalav, ve'im bishel benoten tam. Truma lo yivashel ba chulin, ve'im bishel benoten tam." So he says like this: I never understood this braita, which says that if you have a meat pot and you cook in it milk, you can determine its status by whether it gives flavor. Benoten tam. Noten tam means, does the meat absorbed in the walls give flavor to the milk in the pot? Similarly, truma, a pot that had previously been used for cooking truma, if it was now used for hullin, it also is benoten tam. It can be, the mixture can be kosher if there's no flavor of the truma in the food. He says like this, Rava, Bishlama truma ta'im la kohen, ela basar b'chalav man ta'im le. He says, truma, I understand. A kohen who is permitted to eat truma can taste it. Why? Because even if the truma is detectable, a kohen is permitted to eat truma. But non-kosher food in kosher food, who can taste it? If it's, or in this case actually, meat from the pot wall into the milk, who could taste it? If the taste is detectable, then now I have milk and meat. It is forbidden. So after I taste it, and if I taste the meat, I'll now have violated the law and have eaten some non-kosher food. So who can taste it? So he says, Hashta da'amar Rabbi Yochanan samchinan al-kafela arama hachanami samchinan al-kafela arama. Now that Rabbi Yochanan has said, I can rely on a kafela arama. What is a kafela arama? It means a non-Jewish chef. Arama is Aramean, an Aramean chef, which really means a non-Jewish chef. He can taste it for me and tell me that he tastes no meat in the milk. Then I can eat or drink the milk. So he now understands what the Brisa is talking about. And then it goes on, Da'amar Rava, and Rava said, Amur Rabbanan b'ta'ama va'amur Rabbanan b'kfeila va'amur Rabbanan b'shishim. The rabbis have sometimes permitted things based on tam, sometimes based on, or te'ima. Ta'ama means probably tasting. Or sometimes they've permitted it based on kfeila, on a non-Jew, a non-Jewish chef. Va'amur Rabbanan b'shishim. And sometimes they permitted food based on it being shishim. Now, the question is, how do these three different methods work together? Well, we're going to explain. Hilchach, min b'she'eno mino. If it's min b'she'eno mino. Now, what is min b'she'eno mino? That means one type in something that is not the same type. What do we mean by type? We mean foods that have the same flavor. For example, kosher beef and non-kosher beef have the same flavor. They're considered min b'mino. What would be something that's not min b'mino? Well, chicken and beef have different flavors, so that would be considered min b'she'eno mino. Or milk and meat have different flavors, that would be min she'eino mino. Or pork in pea soup, that would be min she'eino mino. But kosher meat and non-kosher meat mixed together, that would be min b'mino. Or kosher milk and non-kosher milk mixed together, that would be min b'mino. So it says like this: if it's min b'she'eno mino, dehetera ta'ama. If it's both permitted foods, but they have different flavors, then taste it. Who tastes it? A kohen. A kohen can taste the truma. For him it's permitted. So he'll just taste, if there's the truma from the pot wall, let's say I cooked in the pot some grain, that was truma. Now, the grain flavor gets into my pea soup. So the pea soup will be considered truma if there's a flavor of that previously cooked grain in the pea soup. So who's going to tell me if there's the flavor? The Kohen. The Kohen is permitted to eat truma in any case, so he'll taste it for me. That's b'ta'ama. The isura, but if it was min b'she'eno mino and it was a forbidden food, b'kfela, then I have to use a non-Jewish chef. He can taste it for me. Min b'mino, the leka l'meikama ta'ama, min b'mino, two similar tasting foods like kosher beef and non-kosher beef that are cooked together, that I cannot make kamatama. I cannot establish what the ratio is of these two substances by the taste. I can't determine if there's a taste of non-kosher meat here because the kosher meat tastes just the same. There's no way I can figure out. There's no way I can ascertain is there flavor here of this non-kosher food or not, because there's the kosher food that confuses me that has the same taste. So in such a case, or inami min b'she'eno mino de isur de leka kefela b'shishim, or min b'she'eno mino, that I could taste the difference, but I have no kefela, leka kefela. I have no non-Jew. So how am I going to determine the status of this food? I'm going to have to rely on the measure of shishim, b'shishim. So now we understand the three different rules. Sometimes there's te'ima, which is a kohen when it's both heterim for him. Sometimes there's kefela arama, a non-Jew can taste it for me if it's a mixture of two foods that have different flavors. And sometimes if it's the same flavor or I have no Gentile, then I can rely on the measure of 60. Now on the next page we have another statement which is relevant to this, and it says like this. I'm on Tzadi Chet now, Amud Aleph. It says, towards the bottom of the page, Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, Mishum bar Kafra, Kol Isurim shebetorah b'shishim. All of the Isurim of the Torah are nullified in 60. So that sounds like a general statement that 60 works for everything. Let's look at what Rashi says about it. Rashi says like this. B'shishim, it's the Rashi that says b'samech, really, b'shishim, the bottom of the page. He says, again, the Gemara says, Kol Isurim shebetorah b'shishim, and then Rashi adds, Hecha debatkine v'lo yahiv ta'ama. He says, yes, but that's only where we first checked it, and it didn't give any flavor. In other words, we first taste the food, make sure there's no flavor, and then it will be mutter if there's 60. So there actually are two requirements. You need to taste it, and you need 60. And that's very different from the way I explained the Gemara on the previous page. I explained them as alternate options, depending on the case. Here Rashi is saying, no, even if there is no flavor being given by the wall of the pot, let's say, I still need to have 60. He says another case that 60 would be valid is inami leka lemekam atama kagon min umino. He says also in a case where it's min umino and I cannot taste it, then of course I'll use 60 and that will be sufficient. But where I can taste it, I should taste it, and still I'm going to need to have 60. So now we've said that even if it doesn't give a flavor, I still need 60. And then Rashi is going to say also, if it does give flavor, aval hecha de badkine v'yahiv taima leolam tama lo batel. He says, but if I tasted it and it gave flavor, then it'll always be usher. So the 60 will be irrelevant there. In cases where there's no flavor being given to the food, then I need 60. But in a case where it does give flavor, then the 60 is irrelevant. Now, as Rashi is saying, the only time that the 60 is relevant is where there's no flavor. If there's flavor, I don't need the 60. It's going to be usher no matter what. So only if there's no flavor, then I'm also going to require 60. Now, we have to understand what is Rashi's reason for that. Wouldn't 60 be wouldn't the not flavor be enough? Why do we also have to have this 60? So Rashi says, V'ki lo yahiv, I'm skipping it one line. V'ki lo yahiv ta'ama ba'inan shishin levetule. We need 60 even when it doesn't give flavor. Why? Lebetule. So we can ask a question. What does it mean, lebetule? Isn't it, what is there to levatel? After all, there's no flavor here. It doesn't give flavor. The non-kosher is not detectable by taste. I've tasted it, and I've found no flavor of the non-kosher. I still need 60 to betule, to levatel. Levatel, to nullify what? To nullify the flavor? There is no flavor. So you must say it's to nullify the substance. Rashi seems to hold that the substance needs a bittul. In other words, it's not enough that I don't taste it. Since the substance is there, I need also a bittul on the substance. So 60 has a different purpose than the tima. The tima tells me there's no flavor there, but the food could still be usser because there's something there still, the substance, and that needs the 60 to nullify it. We need a combination of taste and 60. So Rashi just brings some proofs that you need this 60. Again, it's when there's, Rashi does this simple, he sort of assumes that you're tasting it, and he says, well, if you tasted it, so either you detected a bad flavor, a flavor of non-kosher, or you didn't detect it. If you detected a flavor of non-kosher, then it's forbidden, because I detected the flavor. And if I didn't detect it, then I'll use 60. He seems to assume that we're tasting it always, as opposed to another way of understanding, which is that no, if you tasted it, then you're done. And if you don't taste it, then you can use 60. And that's what we're going to see right away. That's Tosfos' understanding. Tosfos, on the same page, says, Kol isur shebetorah b'shishim. Every isur in the Torah is in 60. Perush b'kontrast, da'af ki lo yahiv ta'ama boy shishim. The Rashi says that you need, even when it doesn't give a flavor, you still require 60. And he says, ve'ein nira, that's two words, ve'ein nira, I don't agree. And he says, ve'umah shehevi raya milakaman, efaresh lakaman bezrat Hashem yitbarach. He says, the proofs that he brings, I'll explain later. They're not going to bother me. But, lo nirali, I don't agree with Rashi. Either you have 60, or you have no detection of flavor. You taste it, there's no flavor, it's mutter, you don't need an additional 60. The 60 comes in a situation where you couldn't taste it. Not in addition to tasting it. It's a different method. Now, if we look in the Rosh, okay, I've turned to the Rosh, chapter 7, it's Rosh Kaf Tet, and he says, after quoting Rashi, he quotes Rashi, he explains Rashi, that he requires both, and he says, I don't agree with Rashi. In other words, he's like Tosfos, and he gives a reason. He says, V'lishna de samchina na kafela lo mashmakein. The language, the way that it was written, that we are somech on a Gentile, we rely on a Gentile, implies we actually rely on him for allowing this food. De'im haya bo shishim, my rebuta de samchinan alei. If we're also going to always require 60, then what extra facts do we get from the Gentile? Once we have 60, everybody agrees, even Rashi agrees that it would be kosher. So why do we also need to taste it? In other words, what he wouldn't be the Kohen, the non-Jew would only be acting as a kula if we don't require 60. According to Rashi, if you have 60 and you're still giving it to the Gentile to taste, the only possible thing he can do is tell you that he tastes it, and he tastes the non-kosher, and then he's going to ruin your food. So it's not samchinan alav, it's we're osrin biglalav. We're forbidding because of him. Samchinan alav means we are mekel because of his words, says the Rosh. Why would, if we have 60, we have no reason not to eat it. Ela mashma de samchinan ateima didei afilu bepachot mishishim. Even if we have less than 60, let's say we have 50, we would somech on his tasting. We would rely on his tasting for a kula, to tell us that it's permitted, even without the 60. And v'ken time like kohen, mashma lahatir. The whole purpose of the kohen tasting is to matir, not to oser. If we already have 60, then we would presumably matir it. If we're then going to taste it, the only purpose he would serve would be to oser. But he's not coming to oser, he's coming to matir. So his purpose must be to tell us that there's no flavor even when there's no 60. So that's pretty much the Rosh. That's pretty much the Rosh's opinion. He's basically saying the whole idea of somech on a goy or a kohen is to avoid the requirement of 60. So now we've seen 60 as a alternative. That's according to the Rosh and Tosfot. What about the Rambam? The Rambam discusses this in Hilchot Machalot Assurot, chapter Tet Vav 15, and pretty much the whole chapter he discusses this. If we skip to Halacha Vav, he says, Nimsa Lamad Shekol Isurin Shebetorah Bein Isurei Malkot Bein Isurei Karet Bein Isurei Hanaya Shenitarvu b'ma'achal hamutar, that any of these forbidden foods that mixed up with a permitted food. So now we have to decide min b'she'eno mino b'noten tam. If it's two different flavors, it forbids when it gives a flavor. Min b'mino she'efshar la'amod al hatam shiuro b'shishim o b'meya o b'matayim. So if it's min b'mino and we cannot detect the flavors, then we are going to rely on 60. But in the case of min b'she'eno mino, we're going to rely on te'ima, and he doesn't mention anything about the 60. In fact, in all of these laws, the 60 measure never comes up except when it's min b'she'eno mino. So the Beit Yosef quotes a lot of this Rambam, and he summarizes the Rambam as saying that you must use the tasting of a Gentile. Only in circumstances where it's impossible can you rely on 60. Because the Rambam never says to use 60 for min b'she'eno mino. I can read you two other things. He says, another proof, kind of. He says like this. For example, in 27, Kaf Zayin, chalav shenafal l'kedera sheyesh ba basar of. So basar of and chalav, you should know, is forbidden by rabbinic law, because a chicken doesn't create milk. You can't cook a chicken in its mother's milk because its mother doesn't have milk. So chicken is only forbidden to cook with milk because it's similar to meat. So rabbinically, you can't cook chicken in milk. So if you have a mixture, the Rambam is telling you a kula here. If somehow some milk got into your chicken soup or your chicken stew, chalav shenafal l'kedera sheyesh ba basarov, v'natan tam b'kedera, and it gave a flavor, mar be'alav basarov acher, you can increase and add in, you can put into the soup now more chicken, ad shivatel hatam, until the flavor is no longer detectable, the flavor of the milk. So this is a side point, but there's a certain leniency here that he's letting you get out of your problem by adding more chicken to your stew, and now the milk won't be detectable. That's only because it's a rabbinic prohibition in the first place. But notice what doesn't he say? He doesn't say use 60. In other words, he doesn't say ad sheyesh shishim. He says ad she yivatel hatam. So you see, the whole concern is with min b'she'eno mino is the tam. This is obviously min b'she'eno mino, milk and chicken. So the Beis Yosef concludes that the Rambam always requires you to use a Gentile. Only in cases where it's impossible can you rely. Only where it's impossible to use a Gentile can you rely on 60. Okay, that is a summary of the Rishonim that we're going to see. There's another important group of Rishonim that are mentioned in the Beit Yosef. That's the Ramban and the Rashba, and I'll mention them and I'm going to summarize the different Rishonim. We've seen 3 Rishonim. Now I'm going to organize those 3 into a certain order and put in a 4th. So first we have Rashi. Rashi says you need 60, even if there's a Gentile who tasted it and tells you there's no flavor, you still need 60. And if there's only 50, even though the Gentile says there's no flavor of the non-kosher food, you're not going to be allowed to eat it. You need to have 60. The Ramban and the Rashba and the Ran more or less agree with Rashi, but they point out an interesting thing. They say, when you have no actual substance, for example, a piece of non-kosher meat fell into your pea soup, and then you removed it, now we have to estimate how much flavor got into the pea soup. The only number we have is the actual size of the piece of meat. So we say you need 60 times that piece of meat. He says, yes, but really it's probably less than the full size of that meat that's in there. What's in the pea soup now is flavor. That flavor is less than the full size of that piece. So in such a case, if we let a Gentile taste our pea soup and he tells us, I don't taste any flavor of the meat, then even where there's only 50 times the meat, we're going to permit the pea soup. Because what's the logic? The logic is the 60 was only a chumrah in such a case, because it's probably less. And when the Gentile tells us that there's no flavor, that's actually a way of telling us that there's 60. In other words, there really is 60 against what came out of the meat. So too with a pot. Let's say you have a pot that was previously used for cooking non-kosher, and now you cook in it kosher food. So some of the flavor from the non-kosher will come out of the pot. We assume the entire volume of the metal of the pot is full of that flavor, because that's our only number to go on. We have no other way of assessing how much flavor came in. But if a Gentile tastes it and tells us he doesn't taste the non-kosher food in your kosher food, then, assuming it's min b'she'eno mino, then we can rely on that because he's telling us that there's 60. So basically, Rashi and the Ramban both agree that you need 60, but the Ramban adds this extra proviso that if the main substance is not there, then we can rely on the Gentile to tell us that we have 60. The third opinion that we saw is the Tosfot and the Rosh. They basically hold that you can use either method, either 60 or tasting. Either is sufficient, and we don't need to go look for a Gentile. Then the Rambam, especially the way the Beit Yosef reads him, is that your first option, your first preference, is to go to a Gentile and have him taste. Only if there's no Gentile around can you rely on 60. Also, if it's not possible to rely on a Gentile because it's the same, because it's b'mino, it's the same flavor. So why do I group these in this way? Because they have different attitudes towards the shiur of 60. The first 2 opinions consider the 60 to be an absolute shiur. In other words, perhaps the rabbis have required this shiur halachically, just like they require a boy to be 13 before he can do mitzvot from the Torah. So too, and a girl 12 before she can do mitzvot from the Torah. So too here they required that you have 60 against whatever isser you have mixed in your food. And that's an absolute requirement. It's a shiur. It's not an estimation. It's not an omdan of something else. It's an absolute shiur. The Ramban only adds that when the isser is gone, and I don't know if I have the required shiur of 60, then I can use a Gentile to tell me I have the shiur of 60. But he agrees that you need the absolute shiur of 60. The second 2 opinions, Tosfot and the Rambam, hold that 60 is really just an estimation. The real method for determining if treif is in your food, or non-kosher is in your food, is by tasting. The taste of the food is what makes the isser. The isser is on the eating food that has the taste which is derived from a non-kosher source. Once I don't have that taste, I don't have any problem eating this food. So the Tosfot says either method will work. 60 will for sure get rid of the flavor, or tasting will mean that there's no flavor there. Because it says Kol Isurin Shebetorah B'Shishim in Hullin Daf Tzadichet Amud Aleph. The Rambam also believes that the 60 is an estimation. He just considers it not such a very good one, and therefore he prefers you to go to a Gentile. Tosfos considers it a good estimation, and therefore you can use it instead of a Gentile. So again, Rashi and the Ramban consider it a shiur that is required, and the Tosfos and the Rambam consider it 60 an estimation, and the real method is by tasting. Now, let's look at the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch in Siman Tzadi Chet Seif Aleph says the following. He says, Isser shenitarev beheter min b'she'eno mino kagon chelev shenitarev b'basar yitamenu goy im omer she'en bo tam chelev o she'omer she'yesh bo tam el shehu pagum mutter. He says, if you have min b'she'eno mino, like forbidden fat that got mixed in with meat, you bring it to a Gentile. It says goy. Notice he doesn't say kfela, doesn't say a chef, just bring it to a goy, and he'll tell you whether there's the flavor there or not. And then he says, V'tzarich shelo yeda shesomchin alav. You need to have a goy who doesn't know that you're using him for kashrut purposes, because he may lie in that case. He may try to trick you. V'im ein sham goy l'talmo. If there's no goy to taste it for you, then misharim b'shishim. So shishim is only a secondary method if there is no goy. It's not an alternative, it's really just a secondary method. V'ken im hu min b'mino. And so too if it's min b'mino, if it's kosher meat and non-kosher meat. Both are beef, but the one is non-kosher. Kevan deleka l'meika mata'ama, since tasting isn't going to distinguish anything, they all have the same flavor. Misharim b'shishim. So who is he following? Like who is he paskening? He's certainly not like Rashi. He's most like the Rambam. He's saying, go and ask a Gentile. Only where you can't ask a Gentile, either because there isn't one or because it's min minno, then you can use 60, and because 60 is an estimation of the flavor. So far, the Mechaber. The Ramah says, Ein nohagin achshav l'smoch al goy u'misharin hakol b'shishim. He says, today we're not accustomed to rely on a tasting of a goy, and we use 60 as our standard measure to do bitul.